So, multiple times last year, again this year, Adam Bandt says he wants a power-sharing agreement with the Labor Party, knowing that it would be the case in the lower house if they don't get 76 seats, and definitely the case in the Senate to get anything passed. But then people started to not quite like that arrangement, so now Adam Bandt is trying to say no such thing as a power-sharing agreement whatsoever. The thing is, Rowan, the cat was belled, they said the quiet part out loud, and they can't undo this one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, nobody for 1 second believes that Labor and the Greens wouldn't jump into bed faster than Mick Jagger jumping into a Victoria's Secret model's bed. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. If there is a hung parliament, if there's a minority government, we're going to be back to 2010 and we're going to see Labor and the Greens in lockstep and trading, and Anthony Albanese will sell the furniture to the Greens, and all those values that Matt's talking about will go straight out the window.
Now, Mark, I want to get to some pretty big issues in New South Wales.
Complete load of rubbish.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear from Mark, and then Matt, you can say that in 2 minutes' time. But Mark, again, so the Greens have said it out loud. They've said it out loud what they expect their price for support in the Senate to be, and that's most likely the only way anything's going to get through the Parliament. What do you think of Adam Bandt saying, oh, no, I didn't mean it when I said it multiple times over multiple months?
Well, Paul, as the great Jack Lang said, you can always back self-interest in politics, and it's hard to believe that if there was a minority parliament and Albanese just needed a couple of Green votes in the House of Representatives, he'd say no to them. Of course, there'd be some arrangement where the Greens say they wouldn't block supply or support a vote of no confidence. So I think that's just political reality. Obviously, the Liberals think it's a vote winner to associate Albanese with the Greens, and Albanese's views would be closer to the Greens than any Labor leader in my lifetime. So that's a fair point. But I will say this, Albanese in his seat of Grayndler, where he is actually quite popular, and they've got to know him and they like him with that woke agenda. His main threat electorally in Grayndler has always been the Greens to win inner city seats, as they have in Melbourne, obviously, but also in the New South Wales State Parliament. So Albanese has fought the Greens, but if the Greens could be his ticket to becoming Prime Minister, then I suppose that history would go out the window and he'd sign up to some sort of arrangement. Otherwise, you just go back to another election.
Matt?
Well, we've said it on several occasions. There's not going to be any coalition or alliance with the Greens. I mean, the bloke's got one vote in the Parliament. One vote.
You might need that.
We're going to hope. We're hoping that if we're elected to government, we can govern in our own right. And history generally has been that when new governments are elected, they win a majority enough to govern in their own right. The only coalition that exists in the Parliament is the one between the Liberals and the Nationals and the crossbench, which do have a coalition with them to provide supply and confidence. And that ain't working too well for them. It didn't work for them well last week when all the crossbenchers crossed the floor to vote against the government and were joined by 5 of their government's own MPs to cross the floor and knock off their religious discrimination amendment. So it's not looking too good for the government when it comes to alliances.